arrived at the Great Lakes Naval Recruit Training Command in the summer of 1998. We arrived on buses, fresh off our flights from Miami, from California, from New York, tired and sweaty and restless in our seats. We were 18, 19, early 20s, our hair cropped short, our family photos tucked into our backpacks. When we stepped off the bus, the petty officer on duty smiled at every single one of us, and then, once everyone was standing outside, "Attention!" We stood, at attention, like our recruiters taught us. The petty officer smiled again, walking up and down, checking us out. Then he took a step back to see the entire group. Some of us women, most of us ordinary girls. People join the military for many different reasons. Some want structure, some need family, and some need to escape the negativity and dysfunctionality in their home lives. Jaquita Diaz's way of coping with traumatic experiences and with life is with the people who support her, best of all, in the Navy. This is Ordinary Girls by Jaquita Diaz because there is a place for everyone. What a sad, sad bunch of recruits. Welcome to Great Lakes, or as some of you may know it, Great Mistakes. We filed inside the processing center, got our assignments. We were there for our futures. Some of us were military brats. Some of us just wanted to prove something, make our parents proud. By the time I got to Great Lakes, I'd come to think of the military as the only way I could save myself. The first time I was 11. I was living with Mommy in South Beach. She'd been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia 3 years before and was on a cocktail of antipsychotics and anxiety medications. She was also using cocaine. Our nights together were unpredictable. Sometimes my mother slept for 16 hours straight. Sometimes she paced around the apartment talking to herself, laughing, screaming at me for doing God knows what. Sometimes she threw plates across the room or threatened to burn me with a hot iron or gave me a full-blown ass whooping. And eventually, I started hitting her back. We came to blows regularly. That weekend, I was alone with my mother. She was manic, talking to herself, screaming at me, insisting that I'd stolen a pair of her heels. She'd searched the entire apartment, turning over cushions, upending tables. When she didn't find them, she made me search, standing behind me as I opened and closed drawers, as I emptied out bathroom cabinets and turned over mattresses. I did this over and over, and every time I didn't find the pair of heels, she'd slap the back of my head harder each time, until I refused to search anymore. I knew what it would mean to defy my mother, but I did it anyway. I turned to her, balled my hands into fists, took a step back, and said, "I didn't take your goddamned shoes." I turned to leave, and that's when I felt the whack on the back of my head. Hard, harder than before. And then a shower of blows. She beat me until I fell, and after I fell and stopped only when she was good and ready. I got up a few hours later and took my mother's pills. All of them. Antipsychotics, sleeping pills, anxiety pills. I washed them down with half a bottle of Dawn dishwashing liquid. I was determined to die. I sat in the living room, waited for my mother to come home. When she found me, I was on my knees on the kitchen floor throwing up blue. There is the faint memory of riding in the ambulance, sitting up on the stretcher, someone's hand pressing hard against my chest, shaking me, waking me up from wherever I was. There's a woman's voice. "What is your name? Open your eyes. Don't fall asleep. What did you take?" There I am, sinking Then I'm gagging, a tube up my nostril, down my throat.
Don't fight it.
There's chaos. The shuffle of people all around me, moving me, prodding me, holding me up until I'm throwing up charcoal into a plastic container. There I am, stomach thrusting against the back of my throat until my eyeballs are almost bursting, until there's charcoal vomit splattered down the front of my t-shirt, until there's nothing left inside me, and I realize I'm in a hospital bed. And there is my mother, and there is my father, and there I am. I am 11, and I am alive. In the Navy, I became a completely different girl. I took orders, I followed the rules, I worked hard. Harder than I'd worked my whole life. I earned the recruit division commander's trust and respect. They made me a section leader. I aced the firefighter training, the gas chambers training, the weapons training. I would ace battle stations, the final test of all our Navy skills. And before I graduated, I'd get a meritorious promotion. In the Navy, for the first time in my life, I believed I could be good at something, that I could have a full life, full of promise and opportunity. It was the first time in my life that people expected me to succeed, that they looked at me and saw someone who was smart and capable with a future. And it scared the hell out of me. It had been easier to let people assume I was dead or in jail or strung out on the streets. It had been easier to want nothing, to believe in nothing. The second time, I swallowed all my mother's pills. Didn't sit to wait until she found me. The second time, I slid a dresser in front of the bathroom door to keep my mother out. The second time, I woke up sick to my stomach. Stumbled out of bed, but couldn't get the dresser out of the way in time to make it to the bathroom, so I threw up all over the carpet in my bedroom. The second time, I woke to find that, again, I had not died. It took me a few minutes to straighten up, to push the dresser out of the way, to stuff some of my things in my backpack and go. I walked past Normandy Park feeling jittery and weak, headed toward the Circle K where I bought a small bottle of Gatorade and got some change for the payphone. Outside, I sipped some of the Gatorade, then picked up the phone, my hands shaking. I put 2 quarters in the phone and dialed my father. The line rang 4 or 5 times before Poppy picked up. Hello? I was surprised by the sound of his voice, which I hadn't heard in months. His voice stirred something in me, and I couldn't believe how much I missed him, how much I needed him. I wanted to ask him to come get me, take me home. But I couldn't do it. We'd let each other down so many times, I was sure it was the only thing we would ever do. Hello, he said again, but I couldn't do it. So I hung up. I stood there for a long time, feeling tired and weak and so sick. I considered just going back to my mother's, getting back in bed, letting myself drift off. But I wasn't sure if the pills could still work, if there was still a chance I could die. I kept a journal during all of boot camp. I didn't want to forget that there had been a time where I thought I'd end up exactly like my mother. That maybe the Navy had saved my life. I didn't want to forget my shipmates after we all graduated, friends that had been like family after months at sea. Or how, on battle stations night, all of us sleep-deprived and hungry, weighed down by all our gear, carrying each other, carrying the pride I felt when I crossed that finish line. How until that moment, I didn't know I could be that strong. Didn't really believe I could be saved. Sometimes in dreams, I return to those places where we spent our childhoods, where we started our lives, where we dreamed of being women,